Oh, there we go. Hey, we're recording.
All right, hey there, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Cut. New setup, new environment here, and what better way to kick it off than with one of the leaders in our community? So we got our guest with us here, Olajuwon Cooper, head coach of the Edgewood Warriors high school football team, but so much more than that. A leader of young men, not just on the field, but also off the field. We're going to get into a lot of that tonight. I'm really excited. So as always, my name's Tom Roth, and I got my co-host Anthony Aquendo on the other side over there.
What's up, y'all?
Anthony, give us a rundown of our new setup right now.
Oh, yes. So, yeah, you are witnessing, and Coop, I'm actually glad you are the first person for this setup because
That's what's up.
I've known you a while, and good person, good people. Just glad to present this to you people for the first time with Coop here. This is a new setup. I've been working on this for couple weeks and many late nights,
Totally
and
honored.
early mornings.
This is awesome.
Appreciate it, brother. Appreciate it. But yeah, Coop, everybody welcome Coop. If you are not familiar, hey. But yes, Coop, tell everybody who you are, what you do, and where you're from, what you're about.
Yeah, so Olajuwon Cooper, 38 years young, born and raised in Ashtabula. Definitely, I could say as far as when I think about, how to describe myself or what I'm really about, I would say things that are really bigger than me, things that can really help our planet, help the world be a better place. So I like taking on challenges. I like attaching causes to things to make sure that the accountability is there, not only on my end, but with whoever I'm dealing with. But really just taking on things that really turn the needle up and really help the community and then ultimately help the world be better. So I could just, if I had to summarize it, I guess, just a community liaison, willing to do anything in our community to help it be better. Use my resources, use the people that I'm connected to, their resources as well, and really just try and make it a better place. I truly believe Ashtabula has everything and then some to really be a thriving community. I think there's some great things going on in the community, like stuff like this, where you can sit down, have a conversation, really have honest conversations about some of the things that may be going on in our community. But more importantly, without the conversation, I don't think, you can have action. So I think the conversation kind of starts everything. And then, once it gets to certain people, I'm not saying anybody can't help, but ultimately you're going to need certain people to be a part of what you're doing when you're trying to enact change. But really, just putting those things out there, having honest conversations. I think you're going to get authenticity with me. You're going to get just a genuine love for other people, not really myself. It's hard for me to take compliments just because as much as compliments make us all feel good, I want to make that person who's giving me a compliment feel good as well. So typically, even if I get a compliment, my natural reaction is just to give one right back.
Where does that come from?
I think that comes from humble beginnings. I was raised by my great grandmother, who came here from Mississippi when she was a young girl. In her era, it was pretty much you go to school till 6th grade, and then by the time you're 14, 15,
You're an adult.
Yeah, you're an adult. You find that man who probably ain't your age, but back then it was all about family, and doing whatever you could to take care of your family. So I come from great stock, as far as my great grandmother Hester Jackson is concerned, just because she was real selfless as a person. I'm talking about like encouraging me to go to college, encouraging me to take education serious, and when you think about stuff like that, it's really like, well, how do you have this perspective as far as education being so important, and you only went to school to 6th grade? But I watched her take care of not just her kids. She took care of my aunts and uncles' kids. Pretty much, I would say 3 generations of the Coopers, Jacksons, Manns. She took care of pretty much everybody's kids. So for me, it kind of showed that while education is important, it's even more important, you know, who you are as a person, and how you carry yourself and how you conduct yourself. And again, education is nice, but that doesn't necessarily have to dictate how far you go in life. So I would say just having the matriarch of my family be a person who was extremely selfless, extremely giving, but also demanded respect, like from the standpoint of how she lived her life. So it was never about being disrespectful to people. The respect was kind of like a earned thing, but she was willing to give it too. So I was able to see somebody that was strong as far as her reputation in the community, because I grew up on Station Avenue.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, it was
That was my side of the neighborhood too.
Yeah, so growing up on Station Avenue, you know, in the 90s, late 90s, that was a tough time. You're talking about, you know, I would say the height of crime
For this area, for sure.
and in Ashtabula. A bulk of it was happening on Station Avenue in the 90s. Just because, you know, that was the era of you know, gang members or drug dealers standing on the corner. So as a kid, you could see those things, authentically. You could see those things just based on, you know, walking to Brad's or walking to Benedict's, and you could literally see a drug transaction in your neighborhood. And they're not trying to be disrespectful to me as a kid. They're just living how they, you know,
Getting
how
money,
they,
hustling.
they just living how they think they should be living. So, but for me as a kid who came from, you know, even though we were in that environment, I came from a household that was very religious. So morally, I had a great moral compass coming up. So even though those things were going on in my neighborhood, it was still tough to see, because I didn't necessarily, like, those things weren't going on in my household. They were just going on in my neighborhood. Now I came from, you know, my family. I had some people that, you know, weren't necessarily on the right side of the law and things of that nature. And again, by nature, I think, you know, environmentally, some of those things kind of happen. So I wouldn't say I grew up fast based on those types of things. But I would definitely say I was really aware. Like, so I kind of equate situations like that to, like, almost like when you think about biblically, Adam and Eve, when they bit the apple, it was kind of like the life really started once they bit the apple. But before then, it was, you know, kind of naive to everything that was around them. So for me, it was kind of like that. My great grandmother did a great job of making sure, you know, when things were going on, there was a lot of times I was in church. So even though those things were happening in our neighborhood and they were horrible things, I can honestly say I at least had hope, because having a religious base allowed me to hope and pray and believe that things could be better one day.
So you had somebody who was like your anchor, like your rock, like somebody to guide you, like a mentor, but
Oh yeah, for sure,
okay.
for sure. And not just,
and you try to, you know what I noticed also is you are your grandmother. Or you said your great grandmother?
Yeah, my great-grandmother.
Great grandmother. Yeah, you are your great grandmother, because you are a mentor for so many people, especially, you know, kids at school, players, you know, athletes, people in the community, kids that I know. You know, my uncle is your neighbor, and I know you're a mentor to some of the kids that come over to there. They're like Uncle Coop, or, you know. Yeah, so that's crazy how it just kind of trickles down like that. Like, your household determines a lot of the time how you're going to be when you grow up, the type of person that you're going to be.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And because it was the foundation was love, I can honestly say, like, materialistically, it was never a big deal. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and that's, like, I would say growing up today, like, that's probably one of the toughest things that kids face is just what society says, you know, they should have materialistically, and how they should dress and how they should carry themselves, and all those
part
things.
Of the trends.
Yeah. So, for me, it was a blessing, like, in disguise, because of course, like, it's human nature to want to fit in, to want to, you know, wear the Jordans, to want to have all those things. Yeah. It's definitely, I would say it's a very humanistic trait to have to want those things. But coming from humble beginnings, you kind of realize the bigger picture in life. That, you know, sometimes while it may be nice to wear a pair of Jordans, like, it's even nicer to have a meal on the table.
Absolutely.
Like, you know what I mean? It's even nicer to to be able to go in the bathroom and turn the lights on, and you know what I mean, and turn the water on, like, you know what I mean. And I'm not saying those things from a, you know, a woe is me standpoint or feel bad for me. Like, absolutely not. Those things shaped and molded me into who I am today. I wouldn't change it.
Right.
I wouldn't want to, you know, to have it any better, because my outlook on life, I think, would be totally different. So I think my outlook and all those things comes from, you know, just those things, like, you know, having, you know, syrup sandwiches and things like that. Like, to me, you know, stuff like that is a delicacy. You may say that to somebody else and they think like, man, you guys, you really didn't have a lot. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But for me, it was like, hey, you know, a meal is a meal. So the appreciation for just the little things in life, like the things that, I guess, when you just have adequate things and like you just have things at your disposal, the things that you probably take for granted are the things that I cherished, or the things that I loved.
That's true.
That's beautiful.
You know what?
That's beautiful. To say that and come from a place of, hey, it's cool to have things, but think about where you came from, and you know, and then impart that into the youth now. Then, like you said, like there's so many young men and women now who look at it like, well, if I don't have the Jordan 1s, those high tops, you know, I'm not really doing it. But it's not about what you got on your feet or the chain that you got, or if you got the iWatch or the new Guardians hat, whatever. It's about where you come from. That speaks more to what you've got. If you say you came from a good home, someone that loved you, someone that showed you like, hey, we have syrup sandwiches. Those people might not have syrups and they might look down, but this is what we have, and this is what we're gonna do with that, and we're gonna be better for it. That's beautiful, man, because you appreciate what other people don't.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's authentic, man. It's like, so
that's the word I was looking for. I apologize.
Yeah, absolutely.
Authentic.
Yeah. It's definitely authentic, man. And when I look back over my life, I can't say I'm a huge self-reflector or anything like that, but just when I look back over my life, man, I've come across, you know, the quote unquote people that should make it.
Mm-hmm. You said that should make it?
Yeah, that should make it.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And they came from circumstantially a lot better situation than me.
When you say should, that means they didn't.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you
Absolutely.
And you think it's because like they didn't have the same upbringing.
They didn't have it. They didn't have the same
They
appreciation.
didn't have to work for. Yeah. They didn't have to work for what they had,
absolutely.
they
So
appreciate it.
when I talk about like, hey, I wouldn't change it. Like, that's one of the biggest reasons why I wouldn't change it.
Yeah.
Just because I seen, like, you know what I mean? Like, hey, it's better for me. And not saying, you know, those people I came across that it was better for them, like they were egotistical. I'm saying like I came across some of them, they were good people.
Right.
Yeah.
But they had access to a lot more than I ever thought about having access to.
But they pissed it away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they just took
I
it
know-
for, they
yeah, I
took it
know
for
people like
granted
that.
just because they had it. And for me, like, being able to be around people like that, again, just increases the appreciation for the little things, just because, like, I'm gonna take care of that. Like,
Funny story. Kid came into my shop today, and he had a knee brace on, and I thought, you know, football, playing sports. He's in high school. He's a senior. And I asked him, I said, what'd you do to your knee? He said, oh, I was at work goofing off with a couple of my friends, hurt my knee. And he was like, and it was for the city of Kayant. I'm like, oh, geez. I'm like, I'm sure they weren't happy about that, you know?
Right,
and,
right.
And he was like, yeah, I don't care. They were only paying me $12 an hour. I looked at him. I was like, dude, you know, $12 an hour at your age, I would have been balling.
yeah,
Like,
life would have been real good.
yeah, life would have been great.
Bro, like, for
I
real.
was like, $12 an hour. He's like, yeah, I'm used to making like $16 to $18 an hour. I'm like, bro, you're freaking 17, 18 years old. I wish I was making that kind of money
Heck
at that
yeah.
age.
What was minimum wage?
$6.50 an hour when
And
I
it-
was a senior in high school working at McDonald's.
Yeah, see? And
Yeah.
and it makes me nervous, like seriously, genuinely nervous and concerned that he said only $12 an hour, $12.50 or whatever it was. I'm like, you better be grateful for that $12.50.
But the thing is that young man didn't realize is that it's $12.50 an hour right now.
right.
You know what I mean? You talked about earlier.
Right.
You get kind of alluded to. You get what you put in.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So you make $12.50 an hour right now as an 18-year-old kid. If you keep busting your behind, you show up to work every day, because that's all it really is anymore, man. You show up
It's
to work every
progression.
day.
Yeah.
It's progression.
You have
You gotta
good
start
attitude.
somewhere.
That $12.50 an hour in 2 years could be $35.
Oh,
you know what I'm
absolutely.
saying?
Yeah,
I've seen
easily.
the come up in my industry. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like 17-year-old kid that was a porter at our dealership.
Start
And
selling cars.
washing
I know
cars,
this
right.
young man.
Right.
He started when I did. He was making, let's call it 13 an hour,
Yeah,
right? As
yeah.
a porter.
Yeah.
Now that young man is in sales. He's making a good amount of money. One of the most humble young men I know. And what he's doing with that money now, he's invested it into himself. He's into the bodybuilding. He's into
Yeah.
all that,
Oh,
right?
cool.
And he's not doing it to progress his career in bodybuilding that he wants. He's doing it to give access to other people who might be interested in starting this.
Absolutely.
And hey, this is what you got to do to get in shape. And like, I mean, I'm a pretty big dude, but I've started to invest in myself a little bit, right? Hey, my young son, he's about to be 9. I realized the other day when I stepped on the scale, I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm only this weight, but bro, what's that going to be in 10 years? When that young man is 19, he still needs me to pick him up.
Be
He
active.
still needs me.
Yeah.
He needs me. You know what I mean? If I'm too fat, if I'm too lazy to invest not in myself, but in my young boy at home, I might not even see him go across the stage of graduation. And that fucking crushed me. So, hey, investing, I got with him. I was like, I don't want to get jacked. I don't want to be fucking Ronnie Cole or whatever that guy's name is, right? But I want to lose weight. I want to get in shape, and I want to be able to carry my kid, not just emotionally, but physically, right? Well, Tom, I'm going to get you there, right? And he's got a plan in place for me, and we're doing it, bro. And that's the thing also that young men don't realize anymore, I think. It's not just going to happen, right? It's investing in yourself. It's investing in the future. Everyone wants the right now. You know what I mean? But no one wants to look at 10 years down the line. No one wants to look at next year. No one wants to look at 2 years from now, right? And that's like when I was doing the high school sports podcast a few years ago. I saw some of these young men and they wanted to go to college to play football, right? And that's an admirable thing to do, man, because not everyone makes it.
Right.
And
Right.
you've been there. You were a Division I athlete.
Yeah,
I remember when I was in 9th grade watching you play football. And this isn't lip service, nothing like
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
Olajuwon, I was mesmerized at the shit that you did on the football field.
I appreciate
with you
that.
and Cameron
Yeah.
and Shahi and everyone.
Yeah.
And I'm watching it and I'm like, I'm never gonna be that because I wasn't a football player.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But I knew that you guys didn't just make it happen by like, oh yeah, well, we're gonna go home and play video games tonight. We're gonna party. I mean, you might have done that some nights.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you were probably at the YMCA or you were probably at
doing a lot of
home.
work.
You were
Yeah.
doing the work,
Yeah,
dude.
doing the work.
So I need to get in to my own version of the gym. I need to get in there and I need to invest in myself because I want to go to college. None of my parents went to college, right? I wanted to make something of myself. So let's get in the classroom harder. Yeah, I got a B- on that test. I need to get a fucking A next time, dude,
Yeah.
because those colleges ain't going to look at someone who's average,
No.
right? And it's not all about being the superstar athlete or the superstar student. It's about being the superstar version of yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I went on a tangent. I apologize.
Nah, hey, that was good stuff, Tom. I think that's twofold. Because in one aspect you're asking like, hey, I want to be the best version of myself. I want to, I want to invest in myself. I want to do things that progressively help me be better. But
Absolutely.
the thing that I see, in young kids, and maybe it's a societal problem, maybe it's a issue, within the household. But if you surveyed most young people, and asked them about investing in themselves, it would be extremely irrational. Like their answers would be extremely irrational. And like by investment in themselves, like they would take it as like you're asking me if I would buy like a Louis Vuitton belt? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Like absolutely. Are you asking me like if I would buy the next pair of retro Jordans coming out? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But when you talk about like, hey, would you take the same money that the Louis Vuitton belt costs, for example? Would you take that same money and invest in a real estate course for you to get a real estate license? Nah, I don't really think school's for me. I really don't think like that's what I want to do. And maybe it's not real estate, but if you offer them something that they even like to do,
Yeah.
they will not view that as an investment. They will view that as
A cost.
yeah,
An
taken away
expense.
from
Just
their
like-
lifestyle or yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I agree totally when you say that, like, invest in yourself, because ultimately, like, if you're not investing in yourself, how could you ever expect
Anybody else? To.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean? So
sure.
I definitely agree with it, but I just think it's a skewed point for like most people because they think investment is some type of physical or materialistic thing. It's like, no, the investment could be, I'm going to spend more time reading books.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's investing
or
in
go
yourself.
work out.
Absolutely.
Or
Like you're saying, like you're investing in yourself because you're physically doing the gym and whatever that gym looks like for you. So I think it's important to just understand what path you're on. But again, most people aren't willing to walk that line because walking that line means I may be walking it by myself.
If you can't sell yourself on who you are and what you want to be, you're never going to sell someone else on. I was in a car sales course not too long ago, and the gentleman said, "What do you tell people you do for a living?" And they were like, "Oh, I tell them I work at a car dealership." And he was like, "No, you sell cars, and you haven't sold yourself on the fact that you sell cars yet. So how is anyone else going to be sold on the fact that you're a car salesman?"
Makes perfect sense.
And it was such like kind of like I thought it was like lip service at first, but then like coming home, because it was a drive from like near Cleveland Airport. And I was thinking about it. We're with Felix Rivera. Felix. And we're talking about it because Felix is kind of an introspective guy. And we're like, hey, well, and he said to me, he was like, I never really thought about it that way because I just tell people I work at Classic. But now I got to sell myself on the fact that I sell cars. Because if I don't sell myself on that fact, no one's ever going to want to buy a car from me realistically. Yeah. Because they don't trust me.
Where's the credibility?
Or they're never going to hit you up when they do need a car.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? If you say, I sell cars, now next time they're in the market for a car, hey, Tom, what do you have on your lot? You got anything for me? You got any deals? At least you're going to plant that seed too.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? But if you don't ever plant that seed, it ain't never going to grow.
Never.
Yeah.
And it comes down to selling. It comes down to selling yourself on who you are, but also loving yourself enough to sell yourself on who you are. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't love yourself, no one's ever going to love you.
Yeah.
The way you should be, and it goes hand in hand with selling on who you are. You know what I mean? We're podcasters. This is part of who we are. But if we don't sell ourselves on the fact that we want to do this,
I'm already sold, bro. You already
exactly. But that's what I'm getting at.
I'm already in it.
We've sold ourselves on the fact that we're
fucking putting in work. I'm in it.
We sold ourselves on the fact that we can do this. So now people will take us seriously.
I hope so. And if you do take us seriously, like, comment, subscribe.
Absolutely.
No, but Coop, how do you get your players and your students to buy into that?
I think the first aspect is in education. Like for me, sometimes you're going to come across, a long tenured teacher that's been there a long time. Not saying they may be set in their ways, but they may not be identifying as well as someone younger, like myself, may identify. And then the other thing I think that makes a huge difference for me, as far as other people that may be, dealing with the youth and trying to shape them and mold them and help them be better, is the fact that if you come across me at football practice, if you come across me at Walmart, if you come across me on the golf course and I'm playing golf, if you come across me at Geneva on the Lake, if you come across me at the gas station, you're going to get the same guy.
Nave.
Yeah, Nave too. Yeah. You're going to get the same guy. And I think that really helps with students, just because a lot of my students have experienced a lot of different things. And I may not be privy to all those things, but it's human nature to just want to identify, to just want to be giving. Right. And I can honestly say, like, the giving aspect comes from, just having so many people in my life that were giving. Mm-hmm. And Tom made a point earlier about, information, I think, or alluded to, like, obtaining information. And that's really what it comes down to. Your experiences in life kind of dictate that, okay, I'm picking up information, I'm getting knowledge, whether I'm facing that thing again so I can be better equipped, or if it's for me to take the next step. Either way, this knowledge is going to be, or information is going to be extremely important in me getting where I'm trying to go. So obtaining the knowledge, that's really all it comes down to. So you talking, yourself, Anthony, you're an entrepreneur. So for me, I'm not an entrepreneur. So if I don't have people around me like you that are entrepreneurs, I never obtain the knowledge or the information that it takes to be it. Yeah. So I think with kids, like, they want the information. So I'm forthcoming with the information. I'm not holding it. And I think, having a bachelor's degree in communication, having a master's degree in educational leadership, but speaking from a very down to earth standpoint shows them, a level of humility that, no matter where you go, no matter what you're doing, don't ever forget who you are. Always remain who you are. So I never let the titles that I may hold in my life dictate my relationships. And I think that shows that, hey, I'm just like you. Like I'm either one good decision away from being great or one bad decision from it all, tumbling down. Yeah. But either way, that's all of us as people.
That's true.
Everyone. It doesn't make me better than you because I'm the head coach at Edgewood, or it doesn't make me lesser than you if you're, an entrepreneur or whatever. I just think you have to see it for really what it is. And if it's truly about, being the best version of yourself and doing things that truly make the world better, I think those are easy things to do. Like it doesn't take anything. It's not I don't consciously think about, hey, I just want to treat people nice. It's just who I am.
Yeah.
It's just,
you take every situation and approach it with your heart, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think that's the most authentic way to either, again, be better or glean, the information or whatever it is. And based on my religious background, no matter what's going on, I know God is trying to tell me something. Like whether it's a good situation or a bad situation, it's up to me to be able to decipher, what I should get, and then, take what I get and then apply it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like really apply it. Because that's the other thing about information is we have it, but if you don't apply it, what good is it?
It doesn't.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's not.
It's pointless.
Yeah.
So my students and things like that, I just make sure that the information I'm giving them is not only credible, but they can apply it to their lives. And I tell my players all the time, like, don't listen because I'm the head coach. Don't listen because even like out of respect, I want you to listen based on the result you get. Because if the result you get is not what you're looking for,
that's powerful.
We got to go back to the drawing board and figure it out. But also by me being willing to do it that way, it shows them that I care about what they care about. It's not just about the things that I love, or
it's not about this drill, or it's not about hitting this, making this catch. It's about having good technique, strategy, basically like the muscle memory and just preparing them and making sure that they're always ready. What they say, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready.
Ready. So we talk about preparation the most.
Preparation is huge.
Yeah, we talk about preparation the most because, speaking to that quote you just made, Tom, is, no, whether we've experienced it or not, like if the preparation's there, you still have a chance to be successful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But without the preparation, the opportunity of a lifetime could be there. You have no shot.
Yeah.
You have no shot. So it's all about preparation.
Isn't that what they say? Success is when preparedness meets opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. So I don't think it's there's a blueprint. Like, some people may ask sometimes, well, how did you do it? What did it take? That's tough.
Dog.
Yeah, that's just tough. Because life happens to everybody.
Staying on track. Yeah.
So what your life was, and I don't mean what your life was, but like the life things that happened, meaning like the things that happened in your life that you had no control over. I can't say mine's are worse than yours or better.
Absolutely.
Like, you know what I mean? It's what you had to. It's what you had to deal with. So that's why I never like really get into that whole like mine is worse than yours or like you hear people talk about like, well, both my parent, like, hey, I'm not saying that wasn't the most traumatic or the worst, but a suicide over here doesn't mean that wasn't just as bad for them.
Yeah.
Like, so I think society kind of puts us in a box sometimes when we look at stuff like that.
I had to be checked about that one time. So as a lot of people know, my wife back in 2014, she had a stroke, and she was in the hospital for a good while. Obviously we're racking up, I'm selling cars, we're racking up medical bills. And, of course, we needed a little bit of assistance. So, we started GoFundMe or something like that. Thank you for everybody who did donate back then and contribute. But we didn't, we got a few $100.
Mm-hmm.
And then shortly after her stroke, we did the GoFundMe. I saw a video of somebody. It was some 18-year-old, 17-year-old kid who had just came out to his parents, and his parents kicked him out, and he started a GoFundMe, and he posted the video on Facebook, and you know, asking for money for a house or stuff like that. And like he got like $10,000-$20,000. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I'm like, my wife legit almost died, and she got like $500 in donations. This kid just came out the closet, got kicked out of his house, and he got 20 grand.
Yeah.
But somebody said to me, you know, don't judge your situation.
Yeah.
Don't compare your situation to other people's situations. You have no idea what he's going through. And I was like, you know what? That's true.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I was still kind of like,
Oh, for sure.
you know what I'm saying?
For sure.
But it is what it is, you know?
For sure.
Maybe.
Like, again, I try and speak all the time from a humanistic standpoint. And when I say that, I mean like from a very diverse place. So that my words can never be kind of misconstrued as I'm speaking culturally every single time I speak for African Americans I'm just speaking for the good people on the planet.
Yeah.
Like anybody striving to be the best versions of themselves every day, that's who I feel like I represent. So I think, you know, those types of things, it's very humanistic to think that way. And you're not wrong. Like you're not wrong for feeling like that. I think, again, that's where it goes back to information. So once you were privy to better information, your perspective,
Yeah.
you know, I wouldn't say your
100%.
perspective changed. You still
it
had
didn't
those
change,
feelings.
but it's more understandable.
But yeah, definitely more understanding. And I think that's the beauty of in life is sometimes we can be in situations where we can be heightened emotionally based on something that we are literally experiencing. Like not like a hypothetical, you know, heightened emotion. Like this is real. My wife really had a stroke. But also understanding that, you know, it's okay to have those feelings. It really is okay. But again, once we have better information and our perspective can be a little bit better or be a little bit more clear, I think that's ultimately, you know, one of the biggest change agents, because I may not be what Tom is, but if I can have some form of identification or some form of understanding, like that may bring our differences closer together.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know what capacity I may have to deal with Tom in my life. Like, yeah, he may, you know, selling cars, but it may be, you know what I mean?
The only car you're looking for is at his lot. Yeah.
It could be anything, but like to cross that threshold and to make sure, you know what I mean, all goes well. I think it's important for you to have some level of understanding. But I think that understanding shouldn't be based on experience. Because I don't know what that experience is. Like, you know what I mean? So I think, again, that's where it has to go back to just us being human beings.
You're saying a group experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
I got you.
Absolutely.
Instead of an individual experience.
Yeah. So in that sense, you can't equate it to, you know, what yours is, or it's purely what Tom has. But it also could be something that, again, brings us closer together, because now me knowing that information or having that information just helps me better understand Tom.
Mm-hmm.
So no matter what the interaction may be, like I said, it may be, you know, at work, you know, you selling a car. It may be us being in Walmart and me being behind you, or you, like, me saying, excuse me, like, and letting you go first. Like that small interaction is a way for you to identify with people. Cause I'm constantly asking myself, like, I'm 6'5", 260, jet black. What about me says I'm approachable? And people approach me all the time.
It's the energy.
Like literally. Like, so that's why I believe
I think it
like,
is an energy.
It could be a little thing, like, and maybe you don't interact. Maybe it's how you're carrying yourself, how you walk.
I think
like, all that
it's
type of
a
stuff.
vibe. Yeah, like you can definitely tell.
But it's definitely crazy, because I look at myself in the mirror sometimes and be like, hey man, I wouldn't approach me. Like I would not. Like you telling me like we in the elevator and we just about to strike up, but it happens all the time.
Yeah, I mean you can see how people carry themselves, man, for sure. And I mean you carry yourself presentable, like you don't wear like dingy, dirty clothes. You're well kept, you know what I'm saying? Like you wear nice clothes and you just don't look like you're scowling at everything and mean mugging everybody. Like you could tell. But but there are people like 6'5", and I'm like, yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
I might give a little head nod, you know, what's up?
Yeah, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's as far as it goes. So no, I think that speaks to like just those little things that we can do, that, you know, we may think, again, go unnoticed, whether that's Like, I think about it sometimes as like even just taking my cart back. Because think about how many
For
people
sure.
don't take their cart back.
Have you watched Cart Narcs?
No.
You haven't seen Cart Narcs? There's a guy on YouTube. He goes around and he has like a wand and like these stickers and stuff. And if he sees somebody don't put their car back, he'd be like, wee wee, flag him down. And he'd be like, he calls them like lazy bones for not taking their car back. And then when they go like basically ignore him and pull off without still putting their car back, he'll throw a little bumper magnet on their car and it says, I'm a lazy bones, or
Hey,
I don't
that's
put
awesome.
my car back,
That
or something
is
like that.
awesome.
So he like he publicly shames people for not doing the smallest things.
Yeah.
So
There was actually a it was on Reddit. I'm a big Reddit guy. I don't remember the source of this, but it said that to tell what kind of person someone is, see if they put their cart back, because it's the easiest thing in the world. It's the easiest thing in the world to put your cart back at the grocery store.
yeah.
And I used to never do it, but now I'll be at Giant Eagle right by where I work at in Madison, right? And I've had a long day. I've had 4 customers. They flipped out on me, or, I couldn't get them to the payment they wanted, or maybe I didn't sell a car that day. Maybe I'm in the dumps, feeling bad for myself, whatever. Brian, putting this fucking cart back. But then I look at it and I'm like, if I don't put this cart back, the wind's going to pick up. And there's this 2013 Toyota Prius rusted out, right? But that's all that dude has to get to work, and that's his pride and joy, right? Why do I got to be the guy that put a dent in his fucking car?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so it takes 2 seconds to do something so insignificant, but it could change
Well,
the
it
course
is
of
significant though.
That's the thing.
But it doesn't.
It's
It seems
insignificant.
seems insignificant.
It seems insignificant, but it could have the most significant ramifications on someone's life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and it's true. Literally, it's 20 steps probably at most from whatever parking spot you're at to
Tops.
put it back. And listen, man, I play Pokemon Go. That 20 extra steps could be another egg hatched. You know what I'm saying? I could get one of them shiny motherfuckers. Yeah, I'm looking for a shiny Charmander. If I can harness that thing, and guess what? I prevented a dent. So I'm cool. You know what I mean? Oh, God.
Yeah. I'll even take my car all the way back to the store if there's nothing close by. Like at
Yeah.
Lowe's, they have the veteran parking,
Yeah.
and there's not a cart return anywhere nearby. So I'll walk my car all the way back into the front doors.
What's it hurt? You know what I'm saying? What's it hurt?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Right. Right.
Absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
Right.
Get your steps in for the day. You feel a little bit better. And then you got an extra second to reconcile how much money you dropped at Lowe's before you get in the car and drive home.
That's where I've been a lot lately, buying all this nice stuff.
You've done a phenomenal job.
Thank you, sir. I built this. I designed this and built this with Tom's help.
Yeah,
But-
that's awesome.
Don't cap, it wasn't with my help. It was just me standing there and snapping.
You were holding the board and making sure it didn't move.
Yeah.
Teamwork
yeah.
makes the dream work.
Yeah.
Teamwork makes the dream work, man.
Every role is
Still not
important.
done. You can still see there's like little lines here. I plan on cutting out some holes to put the mics, but
Do you still have that miter saw?
I didn't have
or,
the miter.
or the jigsaw.
I do
mean?
have the jigsaw.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's
Megan
right
was
beside
asking about that the other day.
I think
She's like,
it's on
does
that
Anthony
chair,
still have
actually.
that? I was like, he sure does.
Yes.
dear.
Yeah, I'll probably be using it here soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, Coop, I know you gotta be out of here soon.
Yeah, I would say another 10, 15 minutes.
10 or
would be
15
good.
minutes, yeah. Well,
that works for you guys.
Yeah. Well,
Thanks
one
for
thing I
having me.
want to talk about. I see your orange bracelet right there on your wrist. Is your nephew,
Yeah.
Tristan. He was a teammate on one of my basketball teams. He was a player, and actually right when everything happened, but he was killing it on the court. And then one day, his mom messaged me, your sister, and says, what happened? Because I think we had a game about an hour away, a couple games that day, and I'm like, I don't know. He seemed cool to me. He didn't mention anything, didn't say anything, and the whole ride home, I gave him a ride there and back. He never said anything. And then she took him to the hospital, and he was, I'm not good news for sure. But tell us about that.
So, nephew, man, it's life's been doing this thing, lifing. But as far as my nephew is concerned, man, you want to talk about your life being turned upside down. His life literally was turned upside down. So you're talking about a kid that was thriving, playing football and basketball, great aspirations, and obviously had some pretty good talent, some God-given just natural ability. And really lived or lives for, I shouldn't say lived, but really lives for sports. Huge part of his life. And you think like that it's just he just said, hey, my back, my back's a little sore. So you just think it's the typical, it's growing pains. Anytime a kid is has soreness somewhere, okay, it's probably growing pains. He's going through a growing phase. So that's all I kind of equated it to. Like, you know what I mean? My sister, Leanne's going to call me and just tell me that, he went through some routine testing and, they discovered that it's just some growing pains and he's going to be 6'4" like me and be a world-class athlete. So a few days go by and he's still having the pain. So she takes him back to the emergency room and they run some more tests. And those tests were inconclusive for the most part. So they told her she needed to bring him to the Cleveland Clinic. And whether you work in the health field or you work in anything medical, you understand that if someone's going to the Cleveland Clinic, it's serious business. You also understand that it's world-class care.
Yes,
absolutely.
But it's world-class care for a serious situation. So while I was confident that, going to Cleveland Clinic was going to be the best thing for him, that, is kind of when it started to, become real that, like, whatever they say is probably not going to be good.
Right.
So run some tests, find out he's got leukemia. And for us as a family, like, I can't even speak for my sister because I would never, ever try and speak like I could even understand that or fathom that or even comprehend that. I can't at all. But for our family, I can say that it hit us like a ton of bricks. Just because you're talking about a kid that's 13 years old, with a lot of his life in front of him. These aren't the things that, 13-year-olds deal with. They deal with like, hey, I got some hair on my armpit. Like, you know what I mean? I'm maturing. Like,
Starting to smell a little bit more.
like, yeah. Those types of things. So this was like, real. And it, unless you have someone in your family that experienced cancer or something like that, you really have no idea like how intense it is unless you've dealt with someone that, so it's intense. It's every day, for him, chemo, and then my sister has, other children. So for her, it was, which is pretty remarkable on her part, is how do I be there for my son? But also how do I be there for my other children as well? So as a family, we stepped in and did what we could. But as you two know, there's nothing like a mother's love. There's nothing like it.
Nothing.
Like an uncle's love is great. Grandmother's love is great. But there is nothing like a mother's love. So to watch my sister be stretched pretty thin, that was pretty tough. But also in life, we never really know how strong we are until we got to be strong. So anytime I would go up there and see my nephew, and it's September. So since January, since he was diagnosed with leukemia, he's been home for 2 weeks tops. So he's been in intensive treatment the whole time. But every time I go to the hospital to see him, and we're having regular conversations, like he's talking to me about stuff that's going on in sports, and I'm thinking like that would be the last thing on my mind. Like that would be the last. But for him, it's a breath of fresh air. Like, it's his favorite things to do. So it was amazing for me to be able to, have those conversations with him and share those moments with him, even though he's going through what he's going through. But he also showed too, like, a never say never kind of attitude. So we never discuss his condition, like not at all. I tell him like, hey, whatever you want to talk about, we can talk about whatever you want to talk about. But we never discuss it. Like for him, it's about the future. It's about, what's going to happen, when he's out of there. And
I know he's ready to get back to sports.
Yeah, absolutely. He's all good.
Yeah, I talked to Willie. He said he saw him, and he said he'll be back. He'll be back soon.
Absolutely.
He'll be back
so
soon.
he was able to get weekend passes. And I'm not, I'm not gonna say how those. I don't really know how those work. But I know he was able to be away from the hospital for a weekend. So when we played Grand Valley week 2, I get a call from him, which is not anything out of the ordinary, but I get a call from him and he says, Uncle Juan, I got a day pass on Friday. And I was thinking, oh, that's great. You're coming home. Like, I'll clear my schedule. Like, obviously I can't clear the game, but like whatever time after school, like to come see you, to go do what I need to do, I'll do that. So just let me know where you're going to be at and I'll come see you. He was like, nah, like, and again, I told you earlier, he's got brothers and sisters at home. He said, nah, Uncle Juan, like, I'm not going home. Like, I'm coming to the football game. I was like, hey, like, are you kidding me? Like, you coming to the game? He was like, yeah, that's where I want to spend. I want my visits to be at the football game. I was like, hey, say less.
Yeah.
Say less. Like, I knew we were motivated to play.
Did you bring him field side?
Yeah, so he came right and sat right on the field. We cleared out a spot, right in the end zone. And I wanted to make sure, like, you know what I mean, that everyone was away from him because the treatment zaps his energy. So I wanted to make sure like he could just watch the game in peace and be all good. So before I knew it, once we got him situated, I turned around and like the whole team was behind me. And then they just went through and like shook his hand and told him like, hey, this whole season we're gonna be playing for you. We'll make sure, like, you know what I mean, even like, because I was telling them like, hey, there's a kid, you know, explain the situation with my nephew, like there's a kid that was great at sports, could play, like, so if you ever have a weak moment when you out there, just think about him.
Yeah.
Think about how bad
Because
he would want
I don't
to be
think
out
you
there.
mentioned it, but like he has to like learn how to relearn how to walk and
Yeah.
everything, right?
All that
Going
stuff.
from being a stellar athlete at his
Yeah.
age, especially,
Yeah.
to having to like relearn how to walk. Like
Yeah.
that's
He went from
man.
That's tough.
100 and when he first went in, he was I believe Tristan was 115 pounds.
13.
Yeah, he was 115 pounds, and then as he went through treatment and all that, he got down to 76 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so when you talk about like relearning how to walk, just
Muscle
and then
mass,
and then
everything.
the immobility of being in the hospital bed like for so long. Even though he was having PT and stuff like that, but because he was so physically weak, he couldn't go through the PT all the time.
Right.
So that's it's such a blessing now. Just a little update on him, you know, as far as where he is now. Like he's in a rehab facility now, like where the focus is now. Like now that they got the leukemia under control. Now they got to focus on strengthening his body
Right.
back up so he can, you know, be moving around. But for us, that's the ultimate.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because we didn't, you know, you never, when you get on journeys like this, you never know where the journey's going to take you. Like
Yeah.
they never, even in the hospital, when they come in and it's a team of doctors, they never talk about, well, hey, the out date. Like
Yeah.
they don't know what the out date is.
Right.
So
They just know this is where we're at. This
Yeah.
is the next step.
yeah. So that's it. It's a beautiful thing to know right now. Okay, he's in a rehab facility. His days are pretty involved now, but they're involved so that, you know, ultimately, you know, the next step is coming home and being able to live at home, you know, and try and get back to what life originally was for him. Not
Before.
you know, I'm not gonna use. We made a promise to not use that term new normal. He's going to return to what his normal was before. And that's just what we got to believe. And again, the religious aspect lets us know that there's a higher power. There's somebody else working on his behalf too. Because it could have been ugly from the beginning.
It's very,
So the fact that he's coming around, the fact that he's experienced, you know, the things he's experienced, he doesn't take those things for granted. But the more mesmerizing thing for me is he's not scared. Like, I don't know how.
I don't
like,
know
you know what I mean?
how
I don't know
either, man.
how. Like, you know what I mean? He's not scared at all. Like,
that's
so
crazy.
when I'm in there, like, it's, you know, the things I got going on in my life are minute.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
they don't matter.
minuscule.
Yeah, they don't
Yeah.
even matter. So to watch him go through, you know, what he's going through, but then to watch him like handle it the way he's handling it, and still be, you know, a gamer per se, and play the video game and still be on his phone as a way to connect with his friends, and he sees like all the generous stuff that people are doing too, that kind of show, you know, the world can be a beautiful place when everybody's, you know, treating everybody the way they want to be treated. Like, it's something I'll never forget, but Pymantuming Valley, which is, you know, has no connection to him at all. And we didn't solicit anything from Pymantuming Valley or anything. My sister just receives a picture message, and on the picture message, it's a kid from Pymatuming Valley. They have a youth football game, and on the back of his helmet, it has a T, and then the orange cancer sign for leukemia, and then a K. And they said, we play for Tristan. So
That's
just
awesome.
having people just kind of come out of nowhere and
Show
say,
support.
and show
Yeah.
support and say, hey, your fight is our fight, and we're willing to do, whatever we can just to try and aid you and help this be better. So it's really been a beautiful thing, because when you're constantly doing it, it's nice, like, and you're doing it for the right reasons, but you really get a chance to see, like, hey, human nature, man. There's some great people on the planet, man. It's not all bad, like society wants us to believe all the time. Like, it's some beautiful people on the planet that are willing to be very giving of themselves.
So let me ask you, isn't there some kind of fundraiser, like organization that they were raising money for, like with the bracelets?
Yeah, absolutely. So the American Legion was doing a bunch of stuff on my nephew's behalf. The Lakeside Youth Football, Kevin Crockett, which big shout out to Kevin Crockett. He was going extremely hard and making sure, whether it was financial contributions or just food and gas cards and just a plethora of things that again, unless you're in that situation, you don't even realize that a person would need these things.
Right.
But just my nephew having, as close to a form of normalcy as possible. My sister Avery did a lot of work on my nephew's behalf. Like, his benefit was extremely successful. And shout out to everyone who contributed in any way to that benefit. It was a huge success. And we're confident that, with his treatment, and then, my sister not being able to work, just based on having to be there so much, that, at least for the foreseeable future, things will be okay, which is a huge burden off of her and our family really as a whole. But again, it's nice to know that, people are doing the right thing and just trying to help out.
Well, I want to say, even if I had to give it to your sister directly, I would like to contribute. I would like to pledge, whether it's to some kind of fundraiser, like organization for leukemia, whatever it is. Like I said, even if it's directly to your sister, I would like to pledge $200.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate that, brother.
Absolutely.
Appreciate that, man. It's it all goes a long way. And like I said, with her having other kids, them being in school, getting back and forth over the highway. Like I said, I would never try and speak on her behalf when it comes to that stuff, just because I'm not handling that stuff. But I do know it is a great source of pride for her, just to know the community is there, and they care, because ultimately it's the community we live in, and we would be doing the same thing, like, to help somebody else or aid somebody else. So I'm extremely grateful for that kind gesture, man. It'll definitely go a long way. Yeah. I can definitely find out how we can facilitate getting that to her, or getting it however we need to do that. No problem at all.
Yep.
Get me the information as well, please.
Absolutely. We'll do.
Thank you.
We'll do.
Yeah, I don't know. Coop, you got anything else to add? Any additional words of wisdom for everybody? I know you got to get out of here. We've been holding you a little longer.
Yeah, nah, you're all good. I think I'd be remiss, man. When I was talking about humble beginnings, just as a means of, who I am, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't tell this story about my great grandmother and just how it was for me coming up and how special it is just to have somebody that's always going to make sure they're your number one fan, but also make sure you're humble and you're extremely grateful for the things that you do have, because it could change. Mm-hmm. But so my senior year of high school, I was fortunate enough to win Homecoming King, and it was great. Like, one of the highs of my high school career, and I was just extremely happy. Like, nobody in my family had ever, been in a position to win, anything like that. So I was extremely, extremely happy. I come home, and my great grandmother's very old school, like very, very old school. But so I come home and I'm thinking, like, she's excited, but like, she's one of those types. She was one of those type of people, like, you couldn't tell she was excited. Like, you know what I mean? Like, her way of being excited is not the traditional way of like she wasn't gonna be jumping up and down. She wasn't gonna be screaming or anything like that. It was more like an intrinsic, like, I am so proud of you, excited. Like, I can't even really, like, I don't even know how to, like, put it into words or describe it. But so she was kind of like that. Like, you know, everything was kind of like on the inside. So come home excited. I can't wait to tell grandma, like, hey, grandma, I did it. I know we prayed about it. We talked about it. It really happened. So walk in, like, grandma, hey, I won homecoming king tonight. We won the game, but I won homecoming king. I got the crown. Look at the crown. It's great. She was like, don't forget to take the trash out tonight.
That sounds like something I would tell my.
Yeah, she like,
Cool, dude.
yeah, like, no,
Make sure you do your chores.
like, no, like, you know, congratulations. Like, hey, man, like, you the greatest thing since sliced bread. Like,
Yeah.
none of that. Like, don't forget to take the trash out. So, for me, it was kind of like disheartening a little bit. Like, like, again, she wasn't, you know, emotional or anything like that all the time, but like, this is one of those special moments. So it was like, man, like, geez, like, what's it gonna take? Like, what's it gonna take to really, like, please her, and make her
When you
happy?
take the trash out.
Yeah, right, right. So when I was 21, in college, like, just as a full circle moment, I would get so nervous before games in college, like, that I would call her, like, on Saturday mornings, like, you know what I mean, and she would talk to me, like, never about football. Like, we would talk about all the stuff going on at home, and, you know, how my aunts and uncles may not have been living right, whatever. But we never talked about football. But, like, one of those Saturdays, I got enough courage to ask her, like, hey, grandma, like, hey, can I ask you, like, hey, when I was in high school, I went homecoming, like, why'd you act like I didn't even do nothing? Like, it wasn't even that big of a deal. And she said, in that moment, I had to teach you and show you that no matter how far you go, like, you still gonna be you. Like, and don't ever think, like, because you win something that's so great, if it changes you, that's never gonna be good.
Right.
Never forget. And it was like, man, like, in that moment, I would have never understood that as a 17-year-old kid. But as a 21-year-old man, I understood it. I understood it, like, fully.
Lessons you learn when you're young, you sometimes don't even realize until you're older.
I had no idea. So now it's kind of like the same types of things. Like, my son sometimes is like, dang, Dad, like, you drive a hard bargain, man. Like, it's hard to, and it's like, nah, son, that really ain't it. Like, that really ain't it at all. Like, I just want you to know, hey, first of all, he doesn't question anything like love or anything like that. But I just want you to know, like, it's always greater. Like, there's always more to be done. Mm-hmm. Like, you know what I mean? This is great, and we'll celebrate however we need to celebrate. But there's always more we could be doing.
This ain't the finish line.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we're not going to treat it like, you know what I mean? Like, this is the end all or be all. Right. Because the moment that happens, we never going any further. Yeah. So, like, I don't think there's any better, you know, example or, you know, situation you could, you know, encompass where, you know, you wouldn't really understand. Like, hey, I don't care if you're the president of the United States.
You better take the
trash out. Like, it's trash day. Take the trash out. So, again, I felt like I needed to, like, so that people would really understand, like, what kind of person she was. Like, it was stuff like that. And I remember I told that story in one of my college courses. And they said, hey, we totally understand. Like, we see that all over you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're in groups with you. We're doing this different work with you, and you're brilliant. And at no point do you ever act like it's bigger than, like, it is what it is. So, and I think, again, that speaks to, like, just being grateful for what you have. Like, I know that it's a blessing to be able to do what I do and to be able to, you know, have the platform that God allows me to have. There's a lot of people that would love the platform, but maybe they wouldn't handle it right. So I'm fortunate and extremely blessed that God has entrusted me with this platform, and I don't take it for granted. I take it for what it is. So that's why, again, I think it's important to be that guy at Walmart. The same guy it's the head coach, but I'm in Walmart. Right. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
be genuine and authentic.
Yeah, absolutely, all the time. Absolutely. So I think anybody can get better from that. That's why I never claimed to be, you know, anything greater, anything special. Like, it's nice to hear it from people, but it's not how I conduct myself. Like, those things aren't what, you know, get me out of bed in the morning. It's really the things that we lack or the things that people say we can't do here. that really get me out of bed every day and make me, want to go out and be great. And the last thing I'll say is this, because as a communication major, I would just continue to talk. But again, when you talk about really impacting and using the platform, this is the best example I can give. And this example, anytime anybody gives me a platform, it's the example I give. And it's if I had, multi-millions of dollars, we'd have a spire in Ashtabula. We wouldn't have to go to Geneva to do that. We would have it here so that our kids could have hope, and they could have, something that they could really, try and gravitate to really be better. But since I don't have that, I'm always consciously thinking, well, what's the next thing? Like, but like that may not be as great to somebody else, but can really make an impact and really change. And that's really my interactions with people. So when you talk about like, I don't really know how I can make the world better. I'm just little old me, and I just live in Ashtabula, and
put your card back.
Yeah, and I don't really got too much to offer. Well, treat people the way you want to be treated. Like, go out of your way to make sure people have a good interaction with you, and that's really how you can make it better. And with my players, I take it a step further because I give them an extreme example so they really understand. I said, there's racist people on the planet. I may come across a racist person. It is not fair for me just to assume that person is knowledgeable about why they're racist. They could have been raised that way. It could have been the environment they were in. It could have been a wide range of things. But for me, when I encounter that, I have to make sure I have an obligation, not just to my culture, but to any other minority culture out there. I have to make sure that interaction is unlike any interaction they've ever had. Because now I know.
Set you apart.
Now I know. And it's not just about me.
And it doesn't give them, there's no reason.
Now I know. Now I know you know better.
Yeah.
Now I know you can't say, well, I had an interaction with an African-American man, and it was like the stereotype I heard. Nah, he was totally different.
Not me.
So now you know that you're capable of coming across someone that doesn't fit that stereotype. Right. So now I really have made the world better because that person is a little bit better. Yeah. Because now they understand it a little bit better. So for me, it's stuff like that you can really like impart in somebody. Mm-hmm. Like they really are better. And now it's just pure ignorance.
And I think that's why racism is so ignorant in general. Because
it's just ignorance.
One glove don't fit everybody.
Nah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you can't paint everybody with a broad brush.
Yeah, absolutely. So it goes over well, man, and my players definitely get it from that standpoint. Like, man, I never thought my treatment of others could really, no, it really can. Or it can go the other way too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You could be making it worse too. So I think that's the most realistic way to do it. And that doesn't require that you got to have a bunch of assets or a bunch of, materialistic things or a bunch of resources to do it. That just comes with, I'm in Circle K and I'm about to have this interaction. I don't know what your life experiences have been. But one thing I can say is when we were standing in that line I was about to buy my gummy worms and you was about to get your Polar Pop, we had a good interaction. So whatever you heard, it ain't that.
Right.
And I think that's the beauty of really like just being free and the home of the brave and in America is you can really debunk like whatever those things are. That's the other great thing about my hair is, I know that rubs people, but then as soon as I start talking, it's like, oh, it's not what you thought. Oh, that's great. At least now I know what you thought initially, because that first initial interaction is going to tell me what you really thought.
Right.
And then, oh, he talked. He was educated. I couldn't believe it. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Those are the powerful things that I don't need you to tell me. I can figure that out in our first interaction.
I can see you already smirking about it. You're like, yeah, I've just set myself apart.
It's good. Yeah, it's really good, man. So it doesn't take much to do that, man. And you don't got to be a millionaire to just want to be great, man. I think it's just identifying and understanding your path and like and being willing to walk it.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? If it means you got to walk by yourself, like you're going to walk by yourself because you guys know as men. We had tons of friends in high school. It ain't like that right now.
One hand.
Yeah, it ain't like that right now. So you got to be able to walk it. And I think that's you know what I mean? The beauty of life. So I just want to clap it up before I get out of here for you guys. Because this was truly special for me. And hopefully as you guys ascend up that ladder, and keep doing great things, hopefully I'm doing some things in my life that'll that I want you to bring me back.
Oh, I'm sure you'll be. Yeah, I'm sure we'll want to have you
Yeah.
back, especially with the start to the season. We might have to bring you on and talk about that.
Oh, absolutely. I'd love to.
We'll see at the end of the season.
Absolutely.
Let's come back then, and then we'll make it a. Hopefully, we'll make it a celebratory episode.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Bring some players down.
Absolutely. Tom, you got anything before we roll out?
No, man, it just it's just so crazy. Like I remember 2-3 years ago having you on the podcast I was on.
Yeah.
And we just talked sports.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we talked about, growing as an athlete, hearing your backstory and athletics, right? But now hearing more, it's kind of like that more than an athlete. I think it's LeBron James.
Yeah.
I don't mean to sound ignorant. I don't pay attention to basketball as much anymore, but it's more than. I think that people around here put people into boxes so much. Like he's a car salesman. He's a cell phone repairman. This dude's like a drug dealer. Or this guy just owns a bar. Or he's works at McDonald's. But people have so many different stories behind them, and who they are, who they were, who they've become, and being able to now sit at an actual table rather than just StreamYard with you, and having you on here and hearing more in depth about where you've come from and where you're at now and where you plan on going. I think that's one of the most beautiful things about this industry, of the podcasting industry, is that we can take people out of boxes that people might think that they're in and see a different side of them. And it was so awesome to get you on again on a different iteration in my life, and see you at a different stage in your life now. And it's really cool, man. Like it's been awesome. Like,
No, Tom, that's a great assessment, because that's what it was for me. Like as soon as I seen Anthony's post, it was like, hey, this ain't no sports stuff.
Yeah.
Like I get to talk as a person.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, so for me, it was extremely important. Not saying this had nothing to do with people. Like this had everything to do with like that my voice is restricted sometimes based on just the positions I'm in.
Yeah.
So I don't get to speak as a person a lot.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It's more about
Yeah, we try to have a little bit more relaxed and laid back here.
Yeah, that was good.
We still try to keep it professional because I know you got you got
good.
eyes watching you, so you gotta kind of watch what you say sometimes. I get it.
I appreciate it. It was good.
But yeah.
That's why I appreciate the platform, because again, as a head coach and as a teacher, as a community liaison, like it's tough. Like, you know what I mean? There's things that I want to speak on, and not from a title standpoint. I want to speak on those things
as a person,
as a human being. So I appreciate you guys for putting this together and offering up, you know what I mean, a platform for people like myself to really come on and be authentic with people and be excited. Like, hey, this is going to go out, and guess what? Like, we didn't talk football at all.
No.
Like, you know what I mean? Like
I said, we're going to save that for the celebratory one.
Let's save that for when you guys beat Glenville.
Yeah, there we go. Cool. There we go.
Well, you guys do play Glenville, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We
okay,
will.
that's the same division.
Yeah.
I've been out of it for a minute, but I've been
D4, yeah.
Those boys are looking tough this year.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Absolutely cool. Thank you.
Man.
Thank you guys. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I imagine if you make it this far, it's worth a subscribe. So please subscribe.
Absolutely.
Make sure you follow. I don't know, Coop, you got socials that you
I got I typically operate on Facebook, Olajuwon Cooper on Facebook. Don't take this the wrong way, but you can't send me friend requests right now because I didn't even know that there was a friend limit, but I'm at the 5,000 mark.
This guy, he's a celebrity.
I can't. If you send it, I can't accept it. It won't let me. I try to accept some. Yeah,
I think you can just follow.
You can just follow me and see the stuff on IG. Just Olajuwon_Cooper -7. So those are my two active social media platforms. I'm getting better with this whole X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. But I would say Facebook and IG if you want to reach out.
Cool. And it looks like I'm taller than them, but really I'm not. We put his chair down. So.
They did that on purpose. I was wondering, like, they got the nice chair. It's all right. It's all right.
But thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one. The Cut. Tom, Cool, Anthony, we're out. Peace.
Peace.
Later, guys.